All right, thank y'all for being here. Happy Veterans Day. I want to say thank you from everyone in our building to all the men and women that have served. And so, also, because I skipped over this last week, want to wish the men's and women's basketball team best of luck. Both of them have big games this week, and they're off to a good start. So, continued success on their end. Coach DeVries and Coach Kellogg and their players. Critical win on Saturday. I think that Cincinnati's got a good football team, and I think it's hard to win on the road. I thought the Mountaineers showed up. We had a really good crowd support there, and you could hear Country Roads as we were taking a knee. So I think anytime you can do that on the road, that says something. So really odd game, a lot of momentum shifts. I was proud of how our guys competed. I think if you look at some of the team stuff that sticks out, obviously a 3-1 turnover margin, turned that into 17 points. 14 of those came on defense. The middle 8, we won 7-0. Really won the field position battle decisively, and only had 3 penalties. So pretty clean game as far as that's concerned. Special teams, I think when you look at it, we've played kind of really solid special teams. Other than the play at Pitt, we've really played solid on special teams. And when you look at it on Saturday, one thing that probably, unless you're really paying attention, Oliver Straw had a great game. You know, they had 0 punt return yards. He averaged over 43 yards a punt. Our operations were really good. We covered. I thought we did a really nice job on our punt. And then Preston had a great day. You know, he was I thought and we blocked him well too, like kickoff return especially. I thought we blocked well. We had 2 explosive returns, flipped the field a couple different times. And then punt return, he's got a knack for it. It takes a lot of courage to do that. I think it's the hardest thing to do in football is catch punts. And he's got a knack for it. He's really talented. And he averaged over 15 yards a return, which is really hard to do the way the game's played with spread punts right now. And so I was really pleased with our return units. And you've heard me say, I think we're close. Well, we had some opportunities on Saturday, and we made the most of those. Our kickoff return was really good. They had 3 returns for 17 yards. And I think there's some core special teams guys that are playing at a high level. Talk about Ben Cutter, Reed Carrico, Traylon Davis is doing some nice things. Some guys kind of behind the scenes that do some of the dirty work on those units are really doing a nice job. So really pleased with how we played special teams wise. Defensively, a couple things we got to clean up. First of all, the penalties. You know, the 4th and 1 should never happen. We had another off. You know, three of the 3 penalties we had were all procedure penalties. 2 offsides on defense, which should never happen. 1 on a 4th down, 1 on a 3rd down. We got to clean that up. We didn't tackle as well as we have. You know, some of that's because Kiner's really good, but we didn't tackle as well. We got to get that. And we lost contain, and that's something that really hasn't been an issue for us since Pitt, but we lost contain on Swordsby a couple times. The positives are we had 3 takeaways. You know, two touchdowns for those takeaways. But really the story of it is 3.3 yards per rush for them. You know, we really controlled the front. I thought our D-line, Sean Martin, Fatorma, you know, Asani Redwood, TJ Jackson, those guys, and Nate Gabriel played one of his, you know, he's coming along. But I thought those guys, Hammond Russell, those guys really played well and really won the battle of the fronts. And played really physical. You know, if you were down, I don't know how close y'all got. I don't know where press row was there, but man, it was a really physical game. I thought we were physical, and our safeties and our linebackers, you could hear the contact in the game. And then they were 7-16 on end of possession downs, and we did a really good job on P&10. If you kind of look at a hidden stat, you know, the first play of a series, I thought we were really good, and that was something that we were better at on Saturday than we have during the year. Offensively, just real simple. It just wasn't good enough. Not pleased with how we played. Too many errors and just a lack of discipline, fundamental stuff. We only played 42 snaps, countable snaps, which is unique. I think we've played more than that in a half. I know we have. We played more than that in a half. But we weren't very good on P&10. We played really well on defense on P&10 and really poor on offense on P&10. And then end of possessions were 3-11. And that's something in Big 12 play we've been really good. But we weren't the other day. And just a lot of fundamental stuff. Like at quarterback, and we had some miscommunications on the offensive line, which that hasn't been the case in 2 years. And so our route fundamentals, and it just wasn't very good. The positives are we took care of the ball. They were one of the best defenses in the country in forced fumbles, and we didn't do that. Red zone, we did a nice job there, and then the 2 go balls were critical. They were great throws by Nico, Justin, and T-Ray. Well executed those. And they don't give you a whole lot of opportunities for explosive plays, but on third downs they do, and we took advantage of that. So the players of the week for the game, offensive lineman of the week was Brandon Yates. Snaps were much improved. Played very well against one of the top defensive linemen in the country, really in the country, but definitely in the Big 12 in Corleone. Special teams player of the week was Preston Fox. He had 3 explosives, 84 yards, kickoff return, 46 on 46 on punt returns. Just was a big factor in the game. That was our best offense probably, is him returning the ball. Defense player of the week, I don't ever remember coaching a nose guard that had 13 tackles. And y'all brought that to my attention after the game. And then I check it, I'm like, yeah, that's a wow.
Darius had 10 against Baylor, 19. Yeah. So that'd be the closest.
Yeah, I mean, that's just – it's really good. And Fatorma, so Fatorma's Mull was the defense player of the week. But, man, he's played really well now since we've been in Big 12 play. I mean, he's playing really, really well. I thought he dominated in the middle of that. Offensive player of the week was Jaheim. Ran the ball hard. Was really effective. Had a nice screen. There's about 3 other times where he should have got the ball that we didn't make good decisions, and he didn't. But I thought he was really good and got some hard runs. Like I thought he lowered his shoulder and delivered that. The blue collar, which guys that do some of the stuff that's hard. Sean Martin is playing really, again, him and Fatorma up front. Sean really did his job, executed at a high level. He showed up a little bit in the stat sheet, but a lot of those other guys making tackles because they were having to put 2 on him. And he's playing at a high level. And then Anthony Wilson on defense, really physical. Obviously the touchdown, but I think he's playing well. And then on offense, Preston Fox blocked. He was a special teams player of the week. Got a blue collar award because how he blocked on the perimeter. He was. Go back and watch our first drive of the game and see how he blocked. It was special. The developmental guys on offense, Colin McBee, and on defense, Keyshawn Robinson, who's playing really well on special teams for us. And then for special teams was Judah Price. And so those are the awards. And then just injury update before we get into Baylor. This week on defense, Garnes and Burks will continue to be out. And then on offense, Bray will be out. Garrett practiced today. We'll see how he does tomorrow when it's 11-on-11 stuff. But we'll see how the week goes on him. And we'll get both quarterbacks ready. I'm not. Y'all can ask a bunch of questions about them, but I'm really not going to say anything, Mike. So you can ask, but everybody has a right to ask. But I'm just. I want to see how Garrett does. He practiced a little bit last Wednesday, but today was the first day he really practiced, and he'll practice tomorrow, and then we'll make some decisions as the week goes. But we're really not going to comment on it. And then Hudson ran today off on the side, so I'm hopeful for him. So that's the kind of injury updates. Moving on to Baylor. So back at home, it seems like a really long time. It's going to be almost 4 weeks since we've played at home. Much better football team than the last time when we walked off the field, a beat-up group versus Kansas State. And it's Military Appreciation Day, so that's a really important day for a lot of our players, and I know it's an important day for our state as well. Baylor's one of the hottest teams in the country right now, and they're playing their best football. They've won 3 in a row. They're coming off a bye week. They'll be fresh. I think a lot of respect for Dave and his staff. That's a good group. Down there. Special teams, I think when you start talking about special teams for them, you have to start with the returns. Obviously, they're still running on kickoff return last year. We had a debacle down there. They ran 2 of them back and had another big one. And they've got a transfer kid that's done a nice job. He took one. He scored a touchdown versus Colorado. So we've got to do a really good job. And their special teams coordinators at Houston last year, and they ran one back on us too. So, we're really that's a focal point for us is our kickoff coverage. Now, that's the most improved aspect of our team. We're one of the better cover units right now in the country, but this is going to be our biggest test of the year. So, starts with that. And then on punt return, they've done a really nice job. And the thing that's unique about their punt returner, who plays receiver for them too, is the Cameron kid. He's done it for a couple of years. He's big. You know, he's 6'1", 220, and he gets vertical north and south. And he scored a touchdown last year. I can remember. I think it was versus Kansas State. He scored a touchdown this year. I took it inside the 1 versus Texas Tech. I mean, he's a threat, and we're going to have to tackle. Our coverage units are going to be really challenged, and their specialists have done a nice job. So you can tell that they're putting some importance on. They're putting a lot of importance on special teams. They're playing well. On offense, Spavital's doing a really good job with that group. They're hitting their strides. I think when you start looking at it, the quarterback is starting to feel more comfortable. He's starting to use his legs. He's been really accurate with the ball. They've got some speed on the outside, but they're really what's taken them, and they've gone from there where they're playing pretty good to now where they're playing really well, is the ability to run the ball. They've been balanced during their winning streak. They're using tempo, and they've got a tight end that transferred in from Ole Miss that's a really talented guy, and they're using him in a bunch of different ways. And so they're probably playing as well offensively as anybody in our league. So defensively, Coach Rand is one of the top defensive minds in the country. He's calling it. There are multiple fronts, a lot of simulated pressures where they look like they're going to bring a bunch, and they do a good job of bouncing back in coverage. Mix up coverages probably as much as anybody we've played. And he's got answers. You know, when you've been doing it as long as he's been doing it at a high level, we've played against each other several different times now, and he has answers. And so you've got to be really well prepared when you go in and you're playing him. And so a lot of respect, like I said, for that group, and we're looking forward to getting back out here at Mountaineer Field. So with that, questions?
So go back to your defense a little bit. Players have said that they felt that they got aligned better, quicker, more confident in what we're doing. When you get that with a coaching change, that seems like that could be an issue. Do you think you were good at that?
Well, here's the thing. Like, we were calling, like, there's a couple different ways you can call defense, right? So when you're playing against a team that's methodical, you can call it based on formation. If it's a check with me team, you know, you get aligned and you can kind of check with the offense, or you can play whatever you called. And so there's multiple ways of doing it. You know, we've done in the past. We've called it once the team lined up. You can't do that against tempo teams, and it was an issue versus Arizona. We weren't getting lined up fast enough. It was an issue earlier in the year where we weren't getting lined up. And that was a point of emphasis during the bye week is really you're not going to have a perfect call. You know, the way the game's played now, you're not going to have a perfect call. But I believe if you get the call in early and the guys can get lined up and you give yourself an opportunity to communicate, then the kids are going to play more confidently, okay, and they'll play faster. And so that's what, you know, that was the difference. We got the calls in faster. We didn't try to call it based on formation. We had some checks and that the players could communicate and execute. And it wasn't perfect. We didn't make all the checks. You know, they hit us on a couple plays, but I thought the guys played with confidence.
Which was the real test this week then on that part?
Yeah, on the tempo piece, yeah, because you know, they're going to line up fast. They're going to give you probably a few more formational looks as far as formation in the boundary. And now Sat, he motioned it and shifted and did a bunch of different stuff, and they mixed in tempo as well. But this group's going to play faster, and they're going to be more committed probably to tempo than anybody we've played in a few weeks.
Hurts, Garns, if they don't make it back, is there any potential for?
Nah, they've already played too many. Yeah, they played too many games.
Do you have any idea on their time frame at all beyond this?
Yeah, no, they're going to be out.
Okay.
I don't. I think highly questionable for any regular season game.
Getting yards
Yep.
that you allowed, that looked more like the defense you wanted as far as hard hitting, physical presence, Mulvar, Wilson, Trotter. I mean, they gave you an image that you want to project, I think.
Yeah, I think the yards are a little misleading too because it was, and I know you watched it. It was a really odd game. You know, anytime when you score defense touchdowns, you got to go right back out. So if you just look at possessions, they may have had either 2 or 3 more possessions that we had based on that, you know, which is a good thing, but you're out there more. The other thing, too, is 2 drives, both at the end of halves, where, the yardage doesn't really matter. It's more of a time deal. And so we gave up some yardage there that we probably wouldn't have if it was during the normal piece of the game. But yeah, I thought our guys played really confidently, and when you get some takeaways, that helps too. The ball bounced our way a little bit. It hadn't always bounced our way this year, and it bounced our way, and that helps. A couple of poor decisions one really poor decision by their quarterback on a fourth down was helpful as well. But we were physical. Like, if you look and you watch the way we played up front, and we've played well up front most of the year, but we really used our hands well. I thought we really struck their offensive lineman with our hands. Thought Trotter was physical in the run game. I thought that Ty French and Tyron Bradley were both really physical, setting edges. And I thought that Anthony Wilson really, there were some collisions there, and he did a nice job. And we use him a lot in our run fits, and I thought he was really physical. So that's something we got to continue to do. We got to continue to find a way to create some takeaways, but getting lined fast and playing physical are something we can do, all the time.
Obviously, you created all those takeaways. How would you evaluate the coverage aspect?
Yeah, well, I thought our corners, that's the best we've played probably all year. We were really tight on those guys. They completed some balls. I think that tight end's really good, and we limited him pretty well. The Hutchinson, number 8's a big, fast guy. I thought we did a nice job on him. Obviously had the miscue where we didn't cover the back out of the backfield. That hurt us. But I thought our corners did a nice job, and I thought KK and Zay in there at the spear position did a nice job in some coverage too.
Mulba's play and the 13 tackles, I guess, is the message. If you play hard and you chase the ball, that can happen.
Yeah, well, so what we did is, the defense isn't really built for your nose to get tackles. Like, it's built for Trotter and Wilson to get tackles, but you got to win one-on-ones. And the thing that's unique about him is he won his one-on-ones and played his responsibility. He wasn't like out of his gap or anything. Now, some of it's fortunate that's where the ball just hit, right? But and some of it was Sean was having some really good, like putting the ball back toward him. But yeah, he's played really hard. I think the message with Fatorma is if you prepare the right way and you play fundamental football, the ball will find you. That's the lesson, because he did a really good job just holding his point, playing his gap, doing his responsibility, and he was rewarded in the stat sheet.
Is there any overarching aspect of what Baylor has been doing that's allowed them to? I mean, they were struggling for a little bit, and now they're really 3 in a row. They look like they're really playing really well.
Yeah. So, well, I think so. Starting on offense, they've been able to get the run game going. I think their offensive line's playing significantly better now than they were early in the year, and I think that's not unusual when they had a change of schematics. New O-line coach, new offense coordinator, and so I think those are all playing. They're more comfortable. Plus, they had to change up at quarterback. So I think some of those. And as you move through the year, I think Spaz figured out what they're good at. And then the young running back is playing really well. I mean, he's a load to tackle. Very similar to the guy we just played at Cincinnati. I mean, he's a load. But I think if you look at how their offensive line, settling in on the running back and being able to run the football offensively has been the difference. And then defensively, I think they've got some really good players up front. They've got a lot of length. They're as long as anybody we've played. And I think it goes back, they've been able to create some takeaways. That's obviously that won us the game at Cincinnati, and that's been one of the things that they've done a nice job of as well.
Since you call, go ahead.
Justin Robinson, I feel like he's healthy, he's caught up a little bit now. Just what have you seen from him, and maybe more importantly, what do you see next couple of weeks here?
Well, so first of all, he's really, really talented, and from a size perspective, he's 6'4" plus, he's 220 pounds, he runs well. It's the consistency aspect. He's got to be consistent. He was really good when the ball was thrown to him. He's got to be better when the ball's not getting thrown to him. And I think that's the point for him is he'll continue to play and he'll continue to be productive, but he's got to play away from the ball as well. But he's talented. He's a guy that has Sunday ability. He's got to go out and be consistent. And that was a really tough play made on the touchdown. You know, that was a big time hit that he took and held onto the ball, and that was a huge play on the third down conversion on the go ball. He did a nice job. He won with the release and really held his line, which is something he struggled with earlier in the year. He held his line and went up and made a nice play. So when we've had some injuries, you know, obviously Hudson didn't play, so his snap count went up, and he was productive.
I was just gonna say, so you call me out, I will ask the quarterback one.
Yeah.
I
You were
know
going
you're
to anyway, man.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah, I know.
What do you need to see from Green in practice this week to make him a viable option and make that a decision, I guess?
Well, I think the big thing is he just has not. So since the Kansas State game, he did a little bit of 7-on-7 work last Wednesday, and that's really the only work he's had. You know, and you're talking now it's 3 weeks, right? So he did some 7-on-7 work today. Tomorrow's going to be the first 11-on-11 work. And so I need to see him in 11-on-11 work before we make a decision whether he's ready to go. That's a big layoff, you know.
You've got 3 road wins in conference. You almost have to go in with reverse psychology now. You know, you take the us against the world approach when you go on the road and you bring them together. You almost have to do that at home just to kind of flip things around a little bit.
Well, I think what we got to do is we got to do a better job of probably eliminating the distractions. And the distractions aren't negative, you know, they're positive. And it's no different for the staff than the players. You got a lot of people coming into town. You know, you've got that's right, there you go. But I think there's more distractions sometimes, and I use the word distractions not as a negative. They're just more things surrounding the game when you play at home, and so I think we've got to do a better job of tuning those things out and focusing on the main thing. You know, the other thing too is, you know, our last 2 home games we played against some teams that were really good, and we didn't play as well, and so. But we're glad that we got 2 games in a row at home, and our plan is to put a much better product on the field than there was the last time we were out there.
You know, they say it takes a village sometimes. With Brandon Hicks getting his snaps back and getting his play back, it seems like it took an awful lot of your whole staff, from psychologists to teammates to assistant coaches, to get him back to where he was.
I think that's fair. He's really played well. He just hadn't snapped the ball well. You know, I think he's really he's done a nice job for us all year, and he's really over the last 2 years he's played at a high level. I mean, he's going to have an opportunity to go on and play after this, and he's done a nice job. He just had some struggles with the snaps. He snapped the ball much better in practice last week, so I wasn't surprised that we didn't have an issue in the game because we didn't have any issues during the week. And so, and credit to him, he's really worked at it. There's no telling how many snaps, you know, like since we've had some struggles, he's gotten in, but it's a bunch. And so credit to him, he put in the work, and he had a load, you know, like that. The Corleone kid is a really, really good player, and he did a nice job, not only with the snaps, but also I thought he won that battle.
What do you have to see from Nico where you feel better about him this week?
Yeah, you know, Nico played really well against Arizona, not so well on Saturday, and so Nico is, from a fundamental standpoint, he just has to be consistent with his fundamentals. That's the biggest difference between him being super, super efficient versus Arizona and playing at a high level, and then him not playing as well on Saturday. It's all correctable things, and it's little things. This game is so, like, you know, we had a play where if he got his eyes on his backside safety, which he should, you know, we got an explosive play to Traylon Ray, but he doesn't have his eyes right there. You know, we had a couple plays where his drop is supposed to be a certain, and he takes a different one. You know what? It's a minuscule thing, but it throws off your complete timing. And so he's just got to clean up those. You know, I thought that he had some positive signs in the game. He had a really nice run on his touchdown. He threw the go ball really well, but he wasn't consistent enough with his fundamentals, and that's what cost him.
How was he changing pictures? It looked like they were dropping 8 at times. Was he seeing what he was supposed to see?
Yeah, you know, the way we went into the game formationally was really with him in mind. And so the formations we used in the game got pretty consistent looks. So I don't feel like he was confused. That's not. I really think it was more just fundamentally, And then it's hard. Like things weren't going well, and and they kind of, and that's hard for a young player, And so now what they do defensively, it's not necessarily standard. It wasn't like he's gone his whole career playing against that. And so there may be some truth, but I don't feel like he was confused. We just didn't perform fundamentals under pressure as much as we need to.
In terms of Brandon, seems like he really has handled the whole situation, even talking to us today very maturely and mentioning the whole staff kind of being involved. Does that almost kind of also support the culture of the program now and just in general, being able to have that happen, be able to wrap your arms around the guy? He mentioned even Frazier calling him.
Yeah, well, Frazier went through some snapping issues too, so he understands, and that's a hard. I don't need to see any of you do it here, but like go home and like try to put your head between your legs and like snap the ball and then block a really big guy. It's not easy, right? And so again, I think he really worked at it, and I think like a lot of things is you got to be careful of making a bigger deal than it is, right? And so I wasn't sitting there on him a lot about his snaps. We just put him in a situation where he could work it, and he found a solution through several different avenues of getting it fixed. And he's worked really hard. He's played, and he's a mature guy. I mean, he's older, and he's played a ton of football. And so I think credit to him and not being too proud to kind of get some help too.
When you're trying to find any edge you can in preparing for a team, does it, I don't want to say it helps because I'm sure you want to have certainty of the quarterback position, but you keep it a little bit of a mystery so that the guys you're preparing with don't know either. I mean, does that help at least a little bit in terms of kind of keeping them off balance as they prepare?
Yeah, I think that you want them to have to they have to prepare for both. Yeah, for sure. Not that we're drastically different, but we're different, when one or the other plays. Just the fact that one of them's right-handed and one of them's left-handed makes it different, as far as some strengths of how you're going to call the game. Yeah, so, I mean, without a doubt, part of the reason we're not is so they don't know. Like, I'm not trying to hide that.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thanks.